On June 20th of 2012, a call would come into Domino's Pizza just before midnight from a woman who identified herself as Jen. She would order a pizza to be delivered. The customer had specific instructions for the delivery. The driver was to enter the rear entrance of a business on West Turkeyfoot Road. The Domino's manager would contact police when they noticed that the driver had not come back as expected. The police would then go to the area where the pizza was supposedly supposed to be delivered. When police arrived, it was pitch black, and they noticed signs of a struggle that had taken place, with there being a significant amount of blood being found in the parking lot.
The police would search the area, but they wouldn't find much. They wouldn't find Ashely nor her vehicle. This would prompt the police to send out an alert for Ashely and her car. Police would talk to the Domino's manager, and in doing so, they would discover that Ashely was going through an intense custody battle with her ex-husband, Chad Cobb, and his new girlfriend, Erica Stefanko. Chad would meet Erica on MySpace in 2006, and the couple would marry in 2010. They would live together with their 4 children, 2 they shared together, Erica's daughter from a previous relationship, and Chad's daughter from his previous relationship with Ashely.
This would lead investigators to focus on Chad Cobb. After searching for Chad, officers would be directed to a property owned by Chad's grandparents. This property would have an unattached garage at the rear, to which the police would approach by foot to discover a black Lincoln Navigator behind the garage. This car would match the description of a vehicle owned by Chad's family. The police officer on the scene continued to approach the car. As they did, they would find Erica Stefanko in the front seat and her 4 children in the back, but there was no one in the driver's seat. The officer would hear heavy footsteps in the woods, but he would wait until help arrived. Once backup came, they would all head out into the woods, where they would eventually find Chad crouched behind a tree.
Erica and Chad would both be taken into custody, and their children would be placed under the care of Chad's grandparents. The whereabouts of Ashely at that particular time were still unknown. Later that day, a neighbor reported seeing a red light that was flashing in a cornfield near the area, and they stated that the light had stayed on all day and it didn't look like anybody was working in the area. After getting this report, a unit would be dispatched to the area. The cop would arrive, and they would take the ATV trail along the cornfield while being dispatched to the description of Ashely's car. As the officer continued on the trail, he would eventually emerge from the tree line in order to see the cornfield, where he did in fact see a vehicle that matched Ashely's car description. As the officer got closer, he would discover a body in the back seat with a face that was very dark purple, with zip ties wrapped around their neck and their wrist. There were also wires that seemed to be from a taser of some form that hung from the body. There was black duct tape found on and around the body, and there was blood inside the car. The individual in the vehicle was wearing a Domino's shirt, and the license plate on the car did come back a match to Ashely's license plate.
Police would get a search warrant for the home of Chad and Erica. During their search, they would discover zip ties, items of camouflage clothing, a scuba knife, a backpack, a conductive energy weapon which was similar to a police taser, a military flashlight that could perform night vision, a black mask, camouflage makeup, a pair of gloves with hardened knuckles, and a roll of black duct tape. Chad Cobb would be arrested on 2 counts of aggravated murder, as well as charges for kidnapping, aggravated robbery, felonious assault, retaliation, tampering with evidence, grand theft, abuse of a corpse, possessing criminal tools, and domestic violence.
Chad himself pled guilty to 10 charges, including murder, kidnapping, and robbery. The prosecution would drop the death penalty, and he would be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The police knew that it was a woman that made the phone call to the Domino's restaurant that lured Ashely out to her death, so they started looking at Erica to see what her involvement was in the crime. The police would contact Chad in jail, along with monitoring Erica's social media platforms. In the beginning, Chad was not so up for it. He refused to give any evidence or anything that would incriminate Erica at all in the crime. But in December of 2017, the investigators would receive a letter from Chad stating that he had some evidence and he had something to show them. This would prompt police to talk to Chad's mother, Cynthia. Chad's mother would provide the police with an auto recording of Erica
And herself.
that had taken place in 2014. Chad also would talk to investigators. Erica would be arrested on 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of kidnapping, aggravated robbery, felonious assault, tampering with the corpse, retaliation, possessing criminal tools, and grand theft of a motor vehicle. However, due to the statute of limitations, the state dismissed all charges except for murder and aggravated murder. Erica's first trial was set during November 2020, during a very big pandemic, and it was in full effect at that moment. Due to restrictions, some witnesses would testify behind plastic barriers, while others would testify remotely through Zoom, including Chad, who testified from state prison and insisted on wearing a mask despite the defense's objections. During her first trial, Erica would be found guilty for aggravated murder and murder, but she would not be found guilty on any other charges. Erica would appeal her verdict from her first trial. The case would be reviewed and eventually overturned, mainly due in part to Chad Cobb's remote testimony from state prison. The trial for Erica would begin.
The prosecution's opening statement was that Erica lured Ashely with a bogus pizza order to her death. The defense's opening statement was that Chad killed Ashely alone.
The prosecution stated that Chad beat and strangled Ashely to death, then used her own car to transport her to the cornfield where Erica would eventually pick him up from. Chad would then testify, stating that Erica had made the phone call with the intention to lure Ashely out to her death. He stated that Erica was the one that made the phone call from their car. Then Erica would leave the car, leaving him alone in the parking lot. Chad never gave any explanation to why Erica made the phone call in the first place, whether it was on his behalf, and he gave no explanation to why they were even in the parking lot to begin with. But he refused to implicate himself in Ashely's murder, even though he had pled guilty to Ashely's murder prior to that. Is it fair to say that Ashely did not leave the parking lot alive? The prosecution asked. Yes, sir. That's accurate, Chad responded. Chad stated that he placed Ashely's dead body in the backseat of her car, then would call Erica, who would proceed to follow him. The defense argued that Erica's contempt for Ashely was not evidence in her involvement of a murder conspiracy. They painted Chad as a spiteful ex who only implicated Erica after she divorced him and married his best friend. Chad would state that his children were the main reason for why he pled guilty and why he turned on Erica. He said that if he lost his parental rights, he feared that his parents or his grandparents would have no claim to his children, exposing them to potentially entering the foster care system. Chad denied that his testimony was motivated by the anger of Erica marrying his best friend, Christopher Michael Stefanko. He said he turned when he was no longer allowed to see his children in prison.
Ashely Biggs's significant other, Brittany Dunson, would testify to the court about the tension that existed due to the custody battle Ashely was having with her ex, Chad.
Grace Cobb, who is Ashely's daughter, stated that she heard Erica, who she once considered a mother at one point, she heard Erica make the phone call to the pizza delivery place the night that her mother was killed. And she also states that even though she knows that her father had taken a part in her mother's death, she still keeps in contact with him in jail and hopes that one day he will be released. The defense stated that Grace's memories and impressions of that night were blurred due to the upbringing by her father. Cynthia Cobb, Chad's mother, would testify to the court about the custody battle between Ashely and Chad.
Pictures of Ashely's bruised body with zip ties, stun gun probes, and wires wrapped around her body were shown to the jury.
Agents would testify that the stun gun that they found, like the punctures that they found on Ashely, were pretty similar, if not the same, as the stun guns that were found in Chad's residence. The medical examiner presumed that Ashely was strangled, beat, and possibly tased by a stun gun.
Cynthia Cobb, Chad's mother, would testify. Her testimony would include a secret recording she made while having a wide-ranging conversation with Erica in March of 2014. Cynthia explained that the reason she did not hand over the tape right away was due to the fact that she had a lot going on in her life. And also, she did not realize the extent of what was on that recording. On the recording provided by Cynthia, Erica can be heard agreeing with Chad that she placed a fake delivery order and that she did what Chad asked her to do, and that she would be in prison if the police knew the extent of her involvement.
A friend of Chad, Mary Brinkman, would testify that she had dinner with Erica 2 weeks after the death of Ashely, and she states that Erica was acting as if she knew who placed the phone call to the pizza delivery place, and she stated that she dropped off Chad at the location that they knew Ashely would be. The friend also stated that Erica admitted to defecating on Ashely's grave. The defense would counter by pointing out Mary and Chad's close relationship and the fact that Mary did not bring up the dinner with Erica to the police till 7 years after it happened.
The judge denied the defense's motion for an acquittal.
The defense was stating that the prosecution was pointing out a lot of evidence that would lead to Chad's guilt, but very little evidence that would sustain a guilty verdict for Erica. The prosecution pointed out that they had plenty of evidence from the testimonies of Grace Cobb, Chad Cobb, Cynthia Cobb, Mary Brinkman, and Brittany Dunson, and the auto recording of Erica and Chad for the jury to consider.
Erica would take the stand to testify, and testified that she only agreed to place meth inside Ashely's car and call the police so that Chad would use this incident against Ashely and their child custody battle. Erica claimed she did her part by calling in the pizza order to the empty business where Chad was allegedly supposed to sneak into Ashely's car to plant the drugs. She states that she never ended up calling the police that night because Chad ended up murdering Ashely.
The plan to plant drugs on Ashely was actually the couple's second attempt to plant drugs on Ashely. The first attempt is when they tried to plant weed on Ashely, which is something that Brittany Dunson did testify to, and at that time, that particular instance, Erica was the one to also call the police. Erica states that she was not there and did not see Ashely get murdered, but she did hear about it later on from Chad. Erica would tell police that Chad returned home at 1 a.m. where he would tell her to pack the kids in the car quickly because they had to go. They would drive to Chad's grandparents' house where Chad would eventually leave the car, telling Erica that he would return. The prosecution would then question Erica, and they would bring up the conversation that Erica had with Chad's mother, where she stated that if the police knew her full involvement, then she would for sure be going to jail. And that if they went through with it, there was no turning back. And that Chad had talked about getting Ashely's skull as some form of trophy. The reason why the prosecution did this was to challenge Erica's description of the alleged plan.
Erica expressed that due to the fact that she had lied so many times that it would be difficult for the jury to believe her. Erica states that the stakes for her are the same for her now as they were then, her children and her freedom. She insisted that she was finally telling the truth.
Mike Stefanko, who is Erica's current husband, stated that he is not proud of the fact that his relationship with Erica started while she was currently married to his best friend Chad, but states that Erica is his soulmate. Mike testified that he provided the weed to Chad for their first drug frame attempt on Ashely, though he had no idea what the intent was when he handed the drugs to Chad. The closing arguments would begin. The prosecution states that Erica's claim that they only meant to plant drugs inside of Ashely's car is bogus when you hear Erica's statements on the auto recording. The prosecution states that whether you deem Erica as the mastermind or simply accomplice, she is in fact guilty of Ashely's murder. The defense stated that there was no direct evidence that showed that Erica was actively involved and they plot to kill Ashely. None of the witnesses described a plan to commit murder. The defense states that the plan for them to plant drugs in Ashely's car was more logical because they had done it before, but if the plan to kill her would have resulted in them getting caught.
The jury would deliberate for 3 hours before going home. Over the course of 2 days and 8 hours, the jury would continue to deliberate. The jury would eventually return with a guilty verdict on the charges of murder and aggravated murder.
As the verdict was read, the defense stood by their decision to have Erica testify. A spokesperson for the prosecution thanked the New Franklin police for their endless pursuit in Erica for 12 years. Kimberly Biggs, Ashely's mother, said that her daughter could finally rest and that Kimberly herself could move on. And that is the end of today's video. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I might have some news coming up in the next couple of videos, so stay tuned for that. But until then, be safe, Earthlings. Peace out.